Who is Tedros? Tedros is an Ethiopian terrorist, in short. So we have an unelected body, the World Health Organization, or as we're calling it now, the World Hoax Organization, deeply funded by Big Pharma. And now we are supposed to be signing a treaty which hands over the governance of global pandemics to an unindependent or independent unelected organization that is being funded by Big Pharma. So I was born and raised in Africa. And all my life as a white girl in Africa, I always got how corrupt black governments were. So as I grew up, I grew to realize that actually the governments are corrupt because they've learned from their imperialistic, colonialist masters. And that really, all we have as government in any country that believes it's ever received its independence, all we really have is puppet governments. They've been put in there by those with the biggest money. So we have the West meddling, we have China meddling, we have Russia meddling. None of these governments are serving us, the people. Not one. And we know this intrinsically. The African knows it. You know, they've just managed to trot on with their lives and just, you know, ignore it where they have to. This is our time. We need to stand up and we need to stop complying. Stop fucking complying. Stay free.
Brilliant, thank you, thank you.
Is signing a treaty with our government at the moment. Did you know that? The World Health Organization is signing a treaty with our government. They're going to be handing over the sovereignty of deciding on people's health in any future pandemic. We're okay with that. The World Health Organization is run by a man called Tedros. He's an Ethiopian terrorist. And he is now running the World Health Organization. Tedros, T-E-D-R-O-S. And while you're Googling, more Canadians are dying now, today, than for 2 years of the pandemic. Ask yourself why. Mandates are not working, ladies and gentlemen. You need to take control of your own future. So I went on to David Cruz's Unity News Network channel.
Okay.
And I've spoken with him because ultimately what I really want is if the trial for painting no jab mandate on the Right Honourable MP for Surrey West constituency's office windows, and also a care home sign. I painted a care home sign, no jab mandate as well. If that goes to court and goes to trial, that's going to be the 21st of November. And I really do want quite a fuss made then.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like lots of cameras, lots of people, and lots of noise.
All right, well, you got mine. That's for sure. I can shout.
So I'll lend you this because I won't be allowed it in court.
All right, nice. I've always wanted one of them.
You know, now we really are awakening. We're awakening to the absolute realization that our governments are corrupt to the core.
Yeah.
And not only our governments, all of these non-profit and non-governmental organizations that are lobbied by conglomerates and multi-million, zillion, trillion pound companies. We're literally being led into a system of monetary, and I'm really loath to use slavery, I dislike using the term slavery because, of course, with slavery, we worked a tenure with no pay, and you know, a lot of the time, even housing was difficult. You know, just medical treatment, the maltreatment involved. So to liken what we are experiencing to slavery sits uncomfortably with me. And at the same time, when we feel we have no choice, then choice has been removed from us. And once choice is removed from us, then we are not free. So we might not be slaves, but we are still servants to a system. And while we are serving it, we are perpetuating it. So it's how we put spokes into that wheel each time. And non-compliance is absolutely the best way forward. And finding a system or your own tribe of people that you mix with that are also not complying. And through that, you'll find that magic happens. Things grow.
Courage is contagious.
It is, and we know that to be so. So, you know, I know that the protests come under a lot of criticism. Oh, they're not doing anything. Well, how do you say that? But by saying something like that, you're being really as short-minded as somebody who turns around and says, well, this is a bunch of lies. You know, that we've misinterpreted the Pfizer data. We're liars. You know, that you can't evidence that protests didn't work. I evidence that they did, because when I first started marching these streets in London, there were like 13 of us. Now I've marched through these streets with millions. I mean, I can't say millions, but we spanned the entire length of Oxford Street, and we were still in Hyde Park. So how did protests not work?
Yeah, they woke people up and they got people together. People have formed communities and relationships that have made each other's lives better because they came out and met like-minded people. So it depends what you mean by work when people criticise protests. I mean, I know that the corporatocracy anticipated protests because their plans are 100 years long, 50 years long, 25 years social engineering plans, and they anticipate that we're going to do this, and they don't think that their plans are going to fail because we're doing this. They don't. But their plan is to try and get everybody jabbed up, and if we can wake people up and get them to avoid it for as long as they can, forever if possible, then we are messing up their plans, because they want every single person, and every person we keep out of their hands is a huge victory. And that's the point of protests as well.
And the thing is, so I actually had this conversation earlier with a woman from Resistance GB, because another thing that I get quite a bit, speaking with friends, relatives, what you resist persists, Caroline. So it's a Carl Sagan expression, I believe. And I welcome that criticism, because they're right. What is resisted does persist, and they are resisting us. They're the ones who are keeping us prisoner in coaches when we attend protests. They're the ones shoving us in jail. They're the ones raiding 82-year-old ladies' homes. They're the ones, you know, who are literally battening us in Trafalgar Square. That's resistance. That's what resistance looks like. And we will persist, and we will persist, and we will persist. And we are already eroding it. So when people talk about using violence, never has that worked. Historically, it has never worked. Violence is just, that's why they're called revolutions, as Terry Pratchett said. Because people die, and then they happen again, and nothing changes. Whereas what we've got here is a great awakening, where, throughout the eras we've known. So, let's just start talking about women's votes as an example, the suffragette movement. Yeah, let's talk about Wat Tyler, for example, and his standing against the king. So it's been living with us. It's within our humankind's history that we're striving for a better way, a more equal way, living more within societies. And what we're experiencing now is that is being interfered with. It's being resisted. And they will fail. Because what they resist persists. And we will get stronger and stronger. And we have already, structures in place now. Like the Together Declaration. Yeah, the Great Barrington Declaration. We've got the World Health Associations. All of these little groups that are now being birthed out of this stress, this misery, this punishment, the resistance that is being thrown at us. It's been hard for people, and we're flourishing, we're growing, more and more and more, we're growing. More and more people are kind of just, more interested in, so what did you say about this Tedros guy? And just those little cracks, they talk about where there are cracks, it lets the light through. So when we crack things, they don't break. They just turn into some new form. And that's what is happening. Keep your eyes on the ground. Watch what these criminals are doing. And make sure that we hang on to our freedom, our truth.
Hiya, please like, share and subscribe, and keep your eyes peeled for my upcoming channel of The Director's Gut. Lyme's disease and SIBO are threatening my speech, so I'm writing an evolving health guide and asking for donations in order to fund treatment. The links are below. Cheers!